Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Episode. Today we're continuing series. Is that an analog in your pocket? Or are you just happy to see me? And today what I'm going to do is a long-term review of owning the Analogue Pocket, because I've done a lot of videos on this device and I've spent a lot of time with it. And while I absolutely love what it does, there's definitely room for improvement, and that is true in pretty much any handheld gaming device ever made. Some of these are going to be various obvious improvements that I think could come in 2024, and some are going to be a little bit more far-fetched. But I will start the video off by saying that I absolutely love the Analogue Pocket, and any of my critiques are just there to talk about how this product could grow in 2024. I'm in no way, shape, or form telling you your favorite thing is not good, because as far as the Pocket is concerned, the FPGA emulation is absolutely on point. The screen is outstanding. It is such a great way to play arcade, console, and handheld classics on the go, and again, this screen is just absolute 10 out of 10 perfection. I love it. As far as the performance of the Analogue Pocket is concerned, running games, I have absolutely no issues with that whatsoever, but there are some things that I think could be done better in 2024, so let's get right into it. First off, I want to see a lot more implementation of diverse controllers. Something like the Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro here works perfectly fine on everything I throw it at, except the Analogue Pocket and the dock. I can plug this thing into Windows and it's seen as a controller immediately. It just does not work on the Analogue Pocket, and that's down to a lot of different arcade sticks. It's a very limited amount of things that you can plug in the back of the dock and have them recognized and work on the Pocket. And I think that in 2024, getting an expanded list of controllers that do work would be absolutely great. All the mainline things are there, like PlayStation 4, 3, 5, Xbox One, and Series X, a lot of the 8-bit DOS stuff, but when it comes down to the arcade side of things, and there are a ton of arcade cores on Pocket and OpenFPGA, your controller options are definitely more limited. I have 3 different arcade sticks in my collection. None of them work on the dock. They all work on Windows for one reason or another. And I will say that it's definitely necessary because the D-pad on the Pocket is at best decent. I have some issues with not being able to replicate my inputs, and that's going to pretty much happen on almost every single handheld device. It's just one of those things. D-pads are very tricky to implement. And we did just recently get that firmware update that did bring some more controllers into the mix and did fix the PlayStation 5 wireless controller implementation, so you know Analogue's team is working on this in the background to be able to fix some of the controller issues they're having. I just hope that in 2024 they expand that list greatly. There's so many amazing controllers out there that a lot of people own, and I'm sure they would love to use them on their Analogue Pocket. Now this is where we get into the far-fetched territory for just a little bit. I absolutely love the Analogue Pocket. It is such a fun device, and it is so fun to play around with. But with all of the special limited editions they're doing in all the colorways, if they redesign the Pocket in 2024 for a horizontal layout, that would be an absolute ton of fun. You could get something like 6 buttons on the face and just have the same screen size, just change the layout more towards like a Game Boy Advance. Now I understand this is not a small request, and this is one of the parts of the video where I just kind of presume fun things that they could do. Obviously the firmware and the underlying hardware is there. A redesign of the PCB to be more into a horizontal fashion that fit into a horizontal case would be really interesting. Imagine something like a Steam Deck layout, except it's a 4x3 screen, and they use some of that real estate gained by shrinking the screen's aspect ratio down to put in something like a clicky thumbstick and 6 face buttons on the front. I know it's just pipe dreams, but hey, that's what we're here for. Because I will say that while I love the Pocket, extended gameplay sessions definitely do cramp my hands, and I do not have the largest hands in the world. This is definitely trying to emulate the design language of a Game Boy Pocket for good and for bad. They definitely nailed it on the look and the feel of it, but unfortunately it also comes down to being a little bit of a comfort issue. Now, one thing I absolutely think needs to be done is the dock needs to be addressed. My dock, and this is after like 4 months of ownership, the USB port is already wiggling an insane amount. There is no support on the front and barely any on the back to keep your Pocket in the dock securely. This is when I got my Pocket and the dock when I did the initial setup video, and while there was play in the USB port and the dock, it definitely wasn't as much. Now I've talked to some people in comments, I've talked to some people online who made a mistake and accidentally hit their Pocket from the back and basically destroyed the USB port on the dock itself. And that is just down to the fact that there isn't any support structure here to keep your Pocket in place. And when you try to put the Pocket into the dock, you're definitely going to have to slide around a little bit because there are no guides whatsoever, and what this is going going to end up doing is chewing up the plastic on the underside of your Pocket itself. Now, I don't really care that much so long as the screen isn't scratched. These things are meant to leave the house, and every single scratch and ding is a little bit of character. But I know some people want to keep things pristine, and those lack of guideposts and the overall tight fit of the USB port are going to chew the plastic up. And if for any reason you somehow knock the Pocket when it's in the dock too hard, you can definitely damage either end of the USB ports. And if you damage the female USB-C, you're not going to be able to charge your Pocket. You're going to have to replace that port at the minimum, and that is definitely something I have seen and heard people do with the dock. So I definitely think that that could use a redesign in 2024. I get it, it's not an easy ask, but I think it is an important one, because the design axiom is always going to be form follows function. And on something like the Nintendo Switch here, the dock is ugly, it's a big giant piece of plastic, but the function just works. You're not going to be able to break that USB-C port underneath anything, where on the dock, if you just hit it too hard from the back, you could definitely bend it and break it. And getting the Switch into the dock, it has guideposts and it pops in there absolutely easily, where something like the dock, you have to actually hold it down. You can just pick up the whole Pocket and go on with you. It's one of those things, this is definitely just a design that could use a refresh. Now onto smaller things that would be easier, I would love in the menu, the main menu, to have a last chord played setting. It would only bypass a few screens, but it would be nice to jump back in where you were if you had to turn your Pocket off for the day. I would just love to see a little bit more things like that, because imagine here, you just go through all of these menus, you have to get into Open FPGA, you have to pick out what core category you want to be in, and then from there you have to navigate around to pick out the individual core and then the game. It doesn't even need to be last game played, it could just be last core played, and it brings you right to the run menu so you can pick up where you left off, because the great thing about the Pocket is it's supposed to be there for quick, easy play sessions. So if you just had a last chord played option on the menu, I would love to see that so you could jump right back into what you're doing. Now I know we just got OS 1.2 and 2.0 should be here very soon according to the Analogue notes, but as of the recording of this video, it doesn't exist yet. I really hope that Analogue brings over all of those screen filter options to the Open FPGA cores. They look absolutely incredible on the Analogue Pocket, and I want to see them available everywhere. Additionally, Analogue does seem to have some delays, and that's obviously going to happen. They are a small team, but I hope that we start seeing a little bit more of this stuff coming when it is listed, because again, you can play every single Game Boy and Game Boy Color game in Open FPGA, and with a little bit of trickery you can get some of those filters on the game, but it would be great for everyone's ease of use just to be able to pop in, throw the screen filters on, and go. Now another thing that was just in the patch notes but I've still seen issues with is every once in a while I end up with a save state that just disappears completely from the menu, or it is corrupted and will not load up again. So it seems like on some of the cords there definitely needs to be some sort of back-end re-implementation of save states or some fixes and patches, because the last thing you want to do is go to get to your save state and find out it's not there anymore. Now another thing that I would love to see in 2024 is Analogue DAC support for the Pocket. This is an awesome device. Basically what it's doing is it's converting any digital signal into an analog one so you can use those signals on your PVM, CRT, or otherwise. Now this is specific for analog products. You can't plug anything into the DAC and get output out, and I am surprised by that, but it's their product and they can do whatever they want with it. The thing though is it doesn't really work for that many analog devices at this point in time. I love my CRT televisions, I love my PVMs, and I feature them on the channel pretty much anytime I can get. And this is made for analog products past and future, but right now it only works for the Mega SG and Super NT. I would love to see Pocket support come to this, because even though it's a handheld device and that is its primary function, when you go home and you dock it, there probably is a subset of people out there that would love to play on a CRT television, and I hope we get the option to do that in 2024. Because on the MR side of things, getting analog signals out is absolutely easy, whether you want RGB, S-video, component, composite, even RF, all of the options are there, so you can do whatever you want with it. And before you leave that comment down below saying I'm a Mr. fanboy, I just love playing video games. If you want to hear me say something good about Pocket that Mr. can't do, it is ultimately more portable. But there is a ton of love and fun to be had on the Pocket in 2023. Stuff like WonderSwan on the go without my original WonderSwan is great. All of the different arcade cores that we've gotten this year have been absolutely spectacular, and I can't wait to see what 2024 brings on the arcade core and other core side. It's just one of those things. There are some slight improvements that I think could be made to make Analogue Pocket even better in the next year, and I hope they make some of them, and I hope this product continues to succeed. Maybe maybe we see an Analogue Pocket 2 one day. Because I will say, even though I have some issues with the dock and I wish more controllers worked, and I think that the OS rollouts are a little bit slower than I wish they were, this is still an absolutely incredible device and everyone would be so happy to own it. And if you do own it, tell me how your experience has been down below. But that's what I would change around with the dock and the Pocket for 2024. Tell me in the comments what you would like to see differently, and I would be curious to know what those are going to be. But short of that, I can't wait to see what Analogue does in the new year. I'll see you guys next time though. Bye bye.